All right, 7:10, I'm going to call this meeting to order. If everyone would join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, the first item on the agenda is minutes from the April 14th Board of Trustees meeting and public hearing. There's the public hearing for the fire company. Is that
Well,
called?
actually, it wasn't a public hearing, so I
Sorry?
actually have that too.
Oh,
for
you
the-
have that. Gotcha.
That's for the tax, for the
For the
budget, yep.
budget, thank you very much. Sorry.
Can I make a request on the minutes?
You may.
So in the section referring to Becca Pride,
Mm-hmm.
it says the event committee denied. That's not entirely accurate. It was not the event committee.
Right, it was the board,
Yeah.
because that was, we discussed that here. So we can make the adjustment to say that the board.
Yeah, the event committee does not have the authority to do so, to deny.
Did we deny it, or was the request rescinded? Which was the?
I don't think, no.
Karen and I had a conversation
Yeah.
in our regular weekly meeting, and Karen had suggested that not allowing a liquor license to go through due to recommendations about events going after 5 o'clock or not going after 5 o'clock, and ideas of liquor only being served in
No
the
day
evening.
drinking, yeah.
Yeah, for like safety reasons and other things. So I don't know if it came from an event committee having that conversation and seeing it, or if it was directly, but it was that got
So
brought up.
technically, you didn't rescind, or the Pride event didn't rescind the request. Okay, just making sure.
So then it's the board, where are we?
It's the page 6 of 8 from the minutes. My only problem with the sentence is it
It's
attributes
the committee.
authority to
Yeah.
the committee that we do not have.
Yeah, so we'll just say the village board.
Great.
Yes, I think that's good. At least that works for me. I do need a motion to approve the minutes for April 14th.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? So we're just going to change the word event committee to village board.
Yeah, there's one edit only moving forward, as I noticed that the trustees' new names don't have first names. And not a big deal, but just like
Yeah.
if you have a template
Yeah.
moving forward.
Oh, I gotcha. In the very beginning of who's present?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. No,
Gotcha.
I don't think it's.
Okay, any other comments on April 14th?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, separately, the minutes for the workshop on April 24th. I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Amy. Second?
Second.
Any discussion, comments, edits? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. We got through that. And now we have the public hearing. This is a public hearing for the Red Hook Fire Company contract. I do need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. And just to lay the groundwork, we have an agreement in front of us. The fire company and I have met, I'd say 3 or 4 times over the past 2 years, and we have come to an agreement, and the goal here is to finalize this. And just to clarify, we had accrued monies from our budget from last year. So this is not, the monies for both years will not hit the same fiscal year. And it is what we had, the amount that we are proposing here in this contract, which was agreed to by the fire company, is $120,305, and that is what we accrued from last year's budget. So with that, I'll open it up to any public comments as it relates to the proposed contract agreement between the Village of Red Hook and the Red Hook Fire Company. Any comments? Sure, let's just see if there's anybody. There's nobody No hands on Zoom? All right, going once, going twice. Okay, board, do you all have any questions or comments?
I have two.
Mhm.
First, does this include ambulance response volunteer?
If you read,
It says, there's a couple times when it says
attend and
emergency,
respond to
so-
all fires and rescue and emergency response with the village.
So that includes ambulances.
That includes,
I mean, if someone makes a 911 call for cardiac pain or chest pain, usually an ambulance and a fire truck show up.
yes, and
So
the
I'm
Red Hook Fire Company has an ambulance. They don't always have
Coverage.
coverage, and so we do, NDP, which is a
Right.
private company,
So-
is also, they also get,
So that relates to
dispatched.
point 8 of the agreement.
Mhm.
I can read, this point talks about the fire department, fire company not passing on, transferring, or assigning any of the responsibilities in here to someone else without the village's involvement. But I know that the process for declining to respond to an ambulance call is essentially transferring it to other fire departments or NDP.
So I think number 8 is basically saying that the Red Hook Fire Department will continue to be the first company dispatched, but there's a dispatch protocol.
Right, but
So their not being able to go out that's not what this point is.
it's not, and maybe it's just me and other trustees can say, but that is, I don't think, clear here, because it just says, nor the performance of any of the services to be provided.
And I'm sure that it's not intended to
Refer to that. That's all I was-
refer to that. It's because there is a dispatch protocol.
Perhaps the
Red Hook
phrase
goes
could
out.
go, yeah,
Absolutely. And as you'll note, this contract ends at the end of this month.
yeah.
So I will just make a note to
For the
clarify
next
that.
My other question is, does the town contribute to the volunteer firefighter benefits coverage?
You mean the LoSAP program, the length of service? Actually, the town now contributes all of the LoSAP contribution.
So they do the full LoSAP and we do the other.
They do the full LoSAP, and all the other costs they pay 75%.
Okay, great.
We just administer it,
And
or we coordinate the administration.
And I am assuming that the town has a parallel contract and that the amount that they are paying is...
The amount is more. It's over 200,000.
And is there any kind of math?
We have
Sorry, that's a dumb question.
We actually have a 3-way contract, so
Awesome.
it's between the village, the Red Hook Fire Company, and the town of Red Hook.
Perfect.
I'm not remembering exactly, but the town definitely pays, they contribute more. Because the town is covered in part by the Red Hook Fire Company and another part by Tivoli, so they pay both, and so they proportionate out their total payment based on the proportional size of the two determined areas.
Thank you.
Absolutely. At least answer that one. But we actually do have on record that it was either at our November or December meeting.
I feel like we just,
Maybe it was January.
yeah, I feel like we recently
We
approved
did
it.
attend. I think they have a 2-year contract also.
It just came around, I feel like.
It did. So November, December, January, somewhere in there, that contract is in there. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Thank you. Second?
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Amy.
Thank you.
Second?
Second.
Oh, you can go
Go
ahead.
with Kim. All in favor to close the public hearing?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so now we can move on to regular business. And the first item on regular business is resolution
16.
number 16 to approve the fire protection agreement with the Red Hook Fire Company for 2023 to 2025. And I'll just read the resolution. Whereas the Village of Red Hook desires to contract with the Red Hook Fire Company for fire services, and whereas a properly noticed public hearing was held on May 12, 2025, whereas the Village Board has considered any public input from the public hearing, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Red Hook hereby awards the contract for fire services from June 1, 2023 through May 31st, 2025 to the Red Hook Fire Company pursuant to the attached contract. The Village Board authorizes the mayor to sign said contract. Upon return of a fully executed contract, payment for services will be submitted to the Red Hook Fire Company. I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Mel Corca. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Fran. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That one's done. The next item on the agenda is the security certificate for the website. So just to give a little background, we have been approved for a .gov website address being redhookvillage.gov. And in order to repoint our website to redhookvillage.gov, Mel Cork and I have done a little, had quite a few meetings trying to coordinate Civic Plus, and our tech person at CMI Tech took a few minutes. And in order to have the security certification that says it's a secure site, Civic Plus can do that, and they are proposing to do that for an annual fee of $89. And so that's what you have in front of you. And so what I'm asking for tonight is a motion to authorize me to sign this contract.
Can I add one more clarifying thing? Just
Yes.
that this is going to allow us to have redhookvillage.gov as an email address and also our website, which has not been the case since in the past everyone's aware that it has an NY, and I've definitely, sent the emails to the wrong thing. So this is going to be good.
It will have the same, yes, the same ending of our website as or our same.
Improve accessibility.
URL.
Yes.
and- Yep.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, this is just literally changing the name of the website address. It is not. We wanted to get this done before we started the process of looking into updating.
And also it's a legal requirement from New York State that we have to comply with by December 2025. So
Yes.
it's not,
We're not at the last minute.
we're not at the last minute, and also it's not something that we cannot do. If that makes sense.
Yes.
I will make the motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Fran. Any further questions, comments?
Is it a redirect or is it just the security that says the .gov is so secure? So like if somebody were to go to our, say, Red Hook Village, New York, .org, our old one,
Yeah.
like which order is it in? Would they be redirected to the Gov securely, or is that a separate thing outside of this?
So this is specifically for the security certificate. We are ready to repoint. I believe the plan is to leave the old one for maybe a month because we would have to pay for that as well. So the idea would be to leave it for a month, and then at that point, I'm not sure what it's going to say actually.
It'll just redirect for a month, yeah.
And then after it's finished redirecting, when we stop
Well, we don't
it
own
just-
it, that's one of
It'll
the
say
issues.
it's
that's
available.
Yeah, we
for
don't,
sale.
actually Civic Plus owns our current website address, which is why the email address is different. So that's part of the problem. But yeah, so it'll redirect for about a month, but that's not what this cost is.
Can this might be a side point, and if it is, should we think about having it be redirected for longer than a month, just for people who might not get the information that it's updating?
So I think that's a reasonable question, and let me ask the question of how much that will cost. And I can bring that back to the workshop.
Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi. Okay, next item. I did that, okay. As, well, I think we all know, but I think just to share with the public, our building zoning planning clerk is out on medical leave. for not 100% sure how long, but probably at least for a couple months. And so in the meantime, I have a resolution here to hire a temporary building planning and zoning clerk. I'll have to come up with a shorter name than that, but that's the
She
role.
wears so many hats.
She does wear a lot of
She
hats.
gets to wear them.
PPC, PPC.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Interim.
So I have a resolution to hire a temporary clerk while Lara Hart is out on medical leave, and so I'll just read the resolution. Whereas our building planning zoning clerk, Lara Hart, is out on extended medical leave, and whereas the operations of the building planning zoning department need to continue in her absence, and whereas Red Hook Town's planning board clerk, Katie Kakar, works part-time for the town and has time available for additional work, and whereas Mayor Smythe has worked with Ms. Kakar on the town planning board and can attest to her knowledge, experience, and quality of work, and whereas Ms. Kakar makes $26 an hour in her role as the town planning board clerk. Now therefore be it resolved, the Village of Red Hook Board of Trustees hereby authorizes Mayor Smythe to create a new part-time temporary clerk position and engage Katie Kakar to fill this position to function as the building planning zoning clerk for the village until such time as Lara Hart can return to work. And Katie Kakar will become a temporary part-time employee of the village with a pay rate of $26 an hour, which will fall under general fund account 8010.1 zoning-per serve. And this is Ms. Kakar, I'm not consistent, but sorry about that, will set a regular schedule and work on average 10 to 15 hours a week. And the general fund budget for both 2024-25 and 25-26 will be adjusted to reflect these unexpected costs. I guess I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Fran. Second?
Second?
Thank you, Kim. Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And if you haven't met Katie, she's terrific, and I think she'll blend right in, and she'll also be very respectful of Lara's space and her method of organization, etc. So.
I have one comment, although, of course, we're glad that she's stepping in. I'll be very happy when Laura can come back.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
That was resolution 17.
17.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the next one is transfer of assets.
That's
Where am I? Oh, here it is.
Howard Scrabble?
Yes, sorry, transfer of assets, hardscrabble assets to the Village of Red Hook Hardscrabble Events Corporation. As we have discussed before, we have, for about a year now, been talking about spinning off Hardscrabble to create what I think the board in, I think it was 2008, somewhere between 2007 and 2009, I think the board at that time had intended to create a Hardscrabble community association, and they never actually created the association. The village has held the bank account and has received sponsorships and paid for expenses for Hardscrabble and a few other smaller events in the village since that time, but that's really not the best structure, and so we have a small group that has created a separate nonprofit. And to be clear, there are 3 people who are currently officers of that new nonprofit. One is Jeff Walsh, who is Deputy Mayor's husband. Another is Neville Smythe, who is my husband. And the third one is Dan Pucci. All 3 of them have been, Jeff and Dan have been very involved in the organization and production of the Hardscrabble. And Neville Smythe is someone who has a long history in nonprofit management, nonprofit creation, etc. So he's adding his skills and experience to that. So this resolution is to transfer the Hardscrabble assets that the Village of Red Hook has to this newly formed organization. They have received their EIN numbers, so they are now prepared and able to take these over. So I'm just going to read the resolution, and then resolution number 18.
Yeah.
And then I know, and then we can discuss. So the resolution is to transfer hardscrabble assets to the Village of Red Hook Hardscrabble Events Corporation. Whereas the Village of Red Hook has organized and produced Hardscrabble Day and other smaller events for the community for many years, and whereas the Village of Red Hook is looking to transfer the responsibility of organizing and producing Hardscrabble Day to a newly formed nonprofit organization, the Village of Red Hook Hardscrabble Events Corp., so that Hardscrabble Day will continue well into the future and the village will be able to support these efforts. And whereas the Village of Red Hook has a bank account called Hardscrabble Community Association of Red Hook, which as of April 30th, 2025 has a balance of $5,994.48 that is made up entirely of remaining proceeds from sponsorships of Hardscrabble Day. And whereas the village holds the domain name hardscrabbleday.org, as well as the Instagram account Village of RH Events and the Facebook account Village of Red Hook Events Committee that were used to promote Hardscrabble Day and other events in the Village of Red Hook. Now therefore be it resolved, the Village of Red Hook Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the transfer of the following assets to the Village of Red Hook Hardscrabble Events Corporation. 1, all the money held in the Village's Hardscrabble Community Association of Red Hook bank account. 2, the domain name hardscrabbleday.org. 3, the Instagram account Village of RH Events. And 4, the Facebook account Village of Red Hook Events Committee, with the understanding that this name will be changed to no longer include the word committee. Happy to take questions, comments. I think that we've
I have
spoken briefly about.
One motion first.
Sure, let's take a motion to approve this resolution.
I don't want to, sorry.
You don't have to motion, and ideally the process is, unless folks don't want to proceed, is we motion, we get a second, and then we discuss. And then if there are changes to be made, we make that within the middle of it, and then we can vote on the motion,
Thank you.
the resolution at the end. So with that, I'll take a motion to approve. You can also approve the motion and vote no.
Fine, then no motion.
Okay. And second? Okay, nobody wants, so I think there was a discussion of Melkorka and me perhaps recusing ourselves given our association with the officers of the new corporation. So I think that's why Melkorka's hesitating.
Yeah,
You could, recusal is
not, okay.
is
so
personal, so.
Second.
You
I'll
can,
second.
you can, no, I mean, you can recuse, but you have to recuse.
Oh,
Like, you
I can't recuse for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying that, yes, exactly.
okay.
And also-
So you don't have to motion, you
Okay.
just stay silent, you're fine, but I just need to know that you personally.
It's very difficult for me,
She's
Jen.
not holding you back here.
Okay.
No. If I'm not going to get a second, then we'll move on.
Can I say a couple comments?
Absolutely.
Just that, so one thing is that this is not taxpayer money, just so that if anyone's concerned about that. It's not, it's all sponsorships, and the idea of this is to set up something similar to the way Porch Fest and Santa Claus and the tree lighting in Rhinebeck work, is that you have a nonprofit that manages the funds, and they manage the sponsorships, and they take the gifts, and, you know, it's all its own thing, and it's separate from the village. And that was always, I believe, the intention of how it was set up. The funds are not at all connected to village funds or any of our budgets, so we don't, there's no crossing off of vouchers or anything like that. So this is just trying to make it official what was originally set up, you know, what we inherited.
Technically speaking, I don't think the village actually can use this money otherwise, because it is connected to sponsorships for Hardscrabble Day. So it would be under the terms of the sponsorship arrangement, but that's the other reason. My reluctance is simply that I would prefer greater changes in the names of the social media accounts. I'm the one who actually has them now as the events committee person, and I think that they can be changed without affecting the followings, and they can be simply changed to the name that they chose for their nonprofit.
Did we get a second to discuss this?
We did not.
Okay.
Okay, so hearing no
Okay.
second, we will
Move on.
table that and bring it back another time. Okay, next item is a tax levy. Okay, this is a resolution also authorizing the tax levy and warrant for the fiscal year 2025 and 2026. Whereas the budget for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2025 has been duly adopted and filed with the village clerk, which includes $1,431,952 to be raised by the property tax levy. And whereas the assessment roll established by the Red Hook assessor for fiscal year June 1, 2025 through May 31, 2026 shows the total assessed valuation of real property in the village of Red Hook is $298,302,960. Now therefore be it resolved, the tax rate for the village of Red Hook for the fiscal year commencing June 1, 2025 is fixed at the rate of 4.798479 on each thousand of assessed valuation for properties in the village of Red Hook. Be it further resolved that the sum of $1,431,952 shall be the taxes set for the fiscal year commencing June 1, 2025, and is hereby levied on the taxable property of the village of Red Hook, and that the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to receive and collect such sums without additional charge between the first day of June and July 1, and between July 2 and July 31st to collect with any sum not yet collected, an additional charge of 5% as penalty, and between August 1 and September 2 to collect any sum not yet collected, an additional charge of 6% as penalty, and between September 3 and September 30th to collect with any sum not yet collected, an additional charge of 7% as penalty, and between October 1 and October 31st to collect with any sum not yet collected, an additional charge of 8% as penalty. Be it further resolved that the village clerk shall deliver the tax roll and warrant to the village treasurer on or before the first day of June 2025, and in November 2025 to deliver to the Board of Trustees an account of the taxes remaining due and unpaid, describing each parcel of real property upon which taxes are unpaid, showing the person or persons to whom the parcel is assessed, and showing as to each parcel that amount of tax unpaid. And be it further resolved that the village treasurer, with information provided by the town assessor, is authorized to levy and collect additional village taxes upon termination of exempt status of real property in accordance with the provisions of Section 494 of the Real Property Tax Law during the fiscal year beginning June 1, 2025. As you might imagine, this is a formal and required resolution so that we can proceed with our tax levy. This is number 18. It would be 18. I would take a motion.
So moved. I'll take
And
Fran.
second.
Fran, you can second. Cam.
However it goes.
Any questions? Actually, I have a question. The penalties, are they cumulative?
It's 5%, then 6%, then 7%, yes.
So it's if you pay between August 1 and September 2, it's 5% and 6%?
I believe so.
Pay your bills on time, pay your taxes on time.
It's
Yes.
a standard thing that happens everywhere.
So I have a couple things. One is that we have a town assessor. We closed our assessment board here in the village in 1984, so that's, if you need to argue that, there is information on the town website. I know that our assessment went up, and I'm sure a lot of other people's went up. And then also, do we have any programs for seniors or people that are on like fixed incomes for the, do we know of anything like that that's available?
We
to
do
the
have,
page?
an exemption level, a senior exemption. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but we do provide a senior exemption on taxes. You have to meet an income level
Okay,
and
and
be at a certain age.
how do people go about that process? Do you know?
Town assessor.
Okay, so that's also for the town, sorry.
Can I make a request that, as someone who, in fact, did try to go through the process of questioning my assessment last year when my house had no bathroom or kitchen, it is very difficult to find the information on the website, and the process is not outlined. So perhaps as village residents are also subject to this, we could provide some of that information on our website.
It's a great note. Yeah.
Very.
It was sobering. I'll tell you that.
Yep, okay, I think particularly as someone who is in the village may look to the village website, and there's no information, so I think as we,
I'll work on that, yeah.
well, as you look to reorganize some of the information, that might be somewhere just to have the information. I think that's a great idea.
There was some information that was only available by going to the tax assessor's office during business hours.
Ah, of course. Okay, any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Green New York Purchasing Community. Kim, this is something you would put on the agenda. Why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, so the Green Purchasing Community, it's a statewide organization that has, basically as a municipality, we can opt into it. It is at no cost to us. They provide us model language, and the idea is that we would make an update to our procurement policy that would have us go through, they have like a catalog of green products, contracts, things like that, and it would be to basically formally state that we as a village are agreeing to adhere to providing, going a green route in procuring these items, at least with a good faith effort. So it doesn't necessarily require us to specifically use their catalog. I did talk about it a little bit with Jen as the clerk, who would be procuring a lot of our things, to see about how much time would this be or of a burden to our existing staff on it. And it seemed to be a good idea. There is an application that we would fill out, which is a standard application, and it's through the state, and it basically would also build us towards getting, accruing our points for climate smart communities.
So I can also just add that it does require adding sort of their model language to the purchasing policy.
Right.
And based on my look, I haven't heard back from the village attorney yet, but I would be surprised if we don't have to update our purchasing policy in the code. So it may take a few months to get to the place where we have what they require for the application. But I should hear back from him, sort of later this week. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't pursue.
I have a question. Is there, how do we balance our fiduciary responsibility with this? I know it's something I face in my day job, so to speak.
So the program does lay out a little bit, like it needs to be a comparable cost. So it can't be like,
So it's
it
not
has to
gonna
be
compel us to
reasonable.
pay-
Exactly. We don't
right,
have,
okay.
like, if we
Got
can
it.
find the thing for 10 items regularly, but then through their catalog it's 25, we're not forced to go through their
Got it.
$25.
That was my only.
It's a comparative. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And presumably with this, you only get credit towards Climate Smart on purchases after you've made the adoption?
So
So-
we get the points by joining the community and being a part of a Green New York purchasing community, by passing the model language in our procurement policy and applying for the program. Whether or not we actually make a single purchase through it, it won't, it's not effective of it. So if we decide to move forward, applying for the program, updating our procurement policy, we can catalog, and as long as we provide the documentation, we will assumptively get the points for Climate Smart.
Okay, I'm trying to get credit for the new water fountain add-ons. So since we're, I believe, getting rid of the water, buying that, so it's gone. So
Yeah, it's
boom, where are credits? We could get some
The
credits.
progress since you've joined.
I know, since I've joined, yes, sure. I'll take that.
How many points do we get for this?
Exactly.
Okay, thanks, Kim.
It's not that wasn't a trick question,
I
it's
think
just some curiosity.
I think maybe 3. It's a very low stake.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's,
We should get
I
all
think
the
it's
relatively
deployment.
easy ones we can.
Yeah, but it goes, there's a whole pledge element section about policies that make us more environmental friendly and green friendly, and so it would.
And I have a question, have you guys looked at the catalog and seen anything that you think will work for the village, or is it only open when it's a member?
Do they give you the catalog before?
I believe Jen's looked through it.
I mean, I didn't look very extensively, it's, you know, you can buy paper.
Yeah.
It's not like,
But you thought that there was enough like comparable prices that we could opt to do that, and it
and
wouldn't
it's
be.
not like you're buying from them. It's
just their recommendations.
Yeah, they're giving recommendations,
Okay.
so we'd still buy
They're
through
gonna have
WB
some
Mason or
Got
Staples
it,
or
okay.
someone, we just might buy the ones that have the green leaf.
Got it, so it's kind of been certified.
Which we
by that.
may already do.
Right.
Which makes this, Jen
Yeah.
often goes for the environmental friendly option, but this is just solidifying it more.
Great.
Yeah, you may as well get the credit for it.
Yeah,
Nice.
in case we don't have Jen,
Yeah.
who's going for the environmental option.
So the next step will be to write the proposed change, and we've got a couple of other laws that we're working on, so we can incorporate those into that section. Okay, the next item that I skipped over is we look at trees every year. We generally have an arborist look at the village trees to see if there are any trees that really do need to come down or to be significantly pruned. And we did get 2 quotes this year. And the lower quote was Dave's Tree Service. And as part of the quote, he asterisked that in Memorial Park was to remove a tree and grind stump located under the power lines. And he had a cost of $800. But he said, I've never charged for a tree at the Memorial Park or VFW. Please take $800 off my bid as a donation of this tree. So as per protocol, we as the board need to formally accept this donation. So I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the donation from Dave's Tree Service for tree work at Memorial Park in the value of $800.
So moved.
Thank you, Kim. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes.
Comments? Yes.
I have questions. So can I ask about the process of sending this out to bid? Like, I see the letter, the Village of Red Hook is requesting proposals, but...
We received 2.
No, but I mean, how were they solicited?
Jake handed them to them.
Oh, I see.
So it wasn't a formal bid, it was just asking for proposals. We have to ask for...
It's a good faith effort to
Yeah,
get several quotes.
Good faith to get.
To get several quotes. The only reason I ask is because, and I believe I brought a donation to the board that we had from another arborist, and I don't know if this list is, maybe I saved this for the workshop.
Okay.
Maybe I saved this for the workshop. I brought it, okay, so speaking plainly, I had spoken to Jake, and the 4 trees work on which the arborist was proposing to do have already been not claimed, but the work has already was on a tree list that Jake had, and apparently that work, what the donation was comprising of, has already been kind of allotted to this. So I mean, I'm new, so I need help with figuring out how. I feel like I have egg on my face because this was a donation, and I've been told that I thought it was a very good and welcome donation. So I need help with figuring out how do I have spoken to said arborist, and they're actually willing to accept some other work that needs, not accept, but to make a donation of other work that needs doing in the village. Do I present that as this is presented? I mean, I know this was specifically out to bid for specific things, so that's unrelated, but if I can sneak in a request for assistance with that.
So what I think perhaps we should do is perhaps you and I can meet with Jake and we can
Yeah.
talk about the process and what might be remaining that wasn't covered here.
Yeah.
And just so you know, your arborist was given a chance and actually did.
On this?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay, good, thank you.
Okay.
Arborist, the arborists, the trees that they had offered to do the donation are not on this list, right?
No, I
Because
see
they
that.
were, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
just making sure that
I see
this.
that.
They were in the park, in Abrams Park, they were the cherry trees.
Oh, for some reason I
cherry
thought they were,
trees.
oh, okay.
And I don't
For
see
some
one
reason I thought they were
but
in
I
Memorial
don't
Park.
think.
No,
But that's
No.
Memorial, that's the one, that the little, yeah.
The
That's the
memorial.
By the
one.
VFW.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
I thought,
Yeah, that's
anyway,
what- yeah.
we'll connect,
Yeah.
we'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Okay, great,
And
thank
we'll,
you.
we'll proceed on that one, because it's very generous and it's, you know, we are very grateful for that, for
Then
sure.
we'll follow up with Jake and, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments regarding the motion to accept this donation? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Great, thank you. Okay. We did that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is establishing a climate smart communities task force. Each of you had a newer version of that resolution in front of you. I did make a couple of, I only made 3 copies, but if anyone would like a copy, grab that.
What's the new one?
The new one is 3 pages.
An identifier for
Nope,
it is
nope,
under
take it back.
membership terms. It has a 0.5, has 5 points under it and not 4 points.
That's the new one or the old one?
That's the new one.
Okay.
As an indicator of it, yeah.
Yes, and it was, and I had actually put a copy on this table. Yes, so this one's actually 2 pages, effectively. Yeah, basically 1 page with the vote on the second page. As we work our way towards formally establishing our committees, Kim put some good work into bringing forth a resolution modeled on another community's resolution. She and I've gone back and forth a couple times, and so this is where we are. And again, as you note, I have a tendency to bring things to you at the last minute, keep working to the last moment. I think the general notion about this establishment is that it's creating the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, and that membership would be a minimum of 4, maximum of 7 members. The idea is that there would be, so the representative from the village board is obviously a village resident, and then in point 3 you'll see a minimum of 3 that excludes the village trustee, which means that a minimum of 4 will be residents of the village. So that gives village residents a majority on the task force, which I know I thought was important. And so the makeup of the committee would be a representative of the village board of trustees, at least 1 representative who's either on an environmental committee and or has environmental expertise. A minimum of 3, excluding the village trustee, shall be residents of the village, based on their experience and or willingness to participate in the task force. And then additional members who are not village residents may be appointed based on their expertise or experience with environmental and sustainable work. Kim, I don't think we had, does that sound that that wasn't the exact phrasing we had this morning?
Yeah, it was, I think the only update would be, and willingness to, it's just mirroring point 3 and willingness to
Yeah,
participate.
I guess I sort of assumed that was a given. But yes, we can certainly do that. So I'll just add willingness to participate. And then a chair would be appointed by the mayor from among these members in consultation with the village board of trustees. Now, I'm not sure whether in consultation or whether it should be appointed by the mayor and approved by the board.
Yeah, that's more.
Yeah, let's do it that way. And these managers approved, because that's a pretty standard by the board of trustees, the village board of trustees. And then we went with 2 years for terms, and then to start out, 3 members would serve 1 year, 4 members would serve 2 years, so that everybody's not turning off at the same time.
Except if you.
Oh, you know what?
Or you're just reading it.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here.
Did I not?
It's right.
There's a whole page.
a double-sided.
There's a whole thing.
Really efficient.
Interesting.
I'm like, wait a minute. It definitely felt to, it's not in there.
No, it's not.
I did not copy correctly. So I'll just read it out loud. So then when a member's term ends, he or she may remain on the task force until such time as a replacement is appointed and may be reappointed for another 2-year term at the discretion of the Board of Trustees. Vacancies shall be filled in the same manner as the original appointment, except that a vacancy occurring other than by the expiration of the term of office shall be filled only for the remainder of the unexpired term. So those are pretty standard pieces. Officers, rules, records, meeting schedule. The chair shall preside over all official meetings. Agendas and records of all meetings shall be kept and filed with the village clerk. A meeting schedule shall be established by the chair, and all meetings shall be posted 1 week ahead of time on the village website and be open to the public. Powers and duties. The powers and duties of the task force shall be to use the New York State DEC Climate Smart Communities pledge elements to prioritize actions to be undertaken by the village government and residents such that the GHG, is that greenhouse gas? Impacts are maximized to the greatest extent achievable.
Such that minimized, no?
Yeah, it should be either that
You wouldn't
the,
want to maximize
No.
the impact of greenhouse gases.
Yeah. I feel like there's a word.
there's something, yeah, it's the.
Here, I have the first draft, so.
I don't think I changed anything there.
No.
But the general notion, we want to reduce greenhouse gas
exactly
emissions.
what's in the first, so.
The part is action to be taken such that the reduction, I don't know, do you want to just put minimized, does that work for you? Okay. Recommend the prioritized actions to the village board for approval. Plan actions approved by the village board for decreasing electricity and fossil fuel energy demand consistent with the Climate Smart Communities Pledge. And this, Kim, is what I added with the goal of achieving bronze certification as quickly and efficiently as possible, followed by increasing levels of Climate Smart Community certification. And then reports to the mayor and village board. Shall remain ongoing communications with all the relevant groups. Annually, at a date to be determined by the village board of trustees in consultation with the task force, a written report will be submitted by the CSC task force to the village board outlining its activities over the past year and the goals for the next year. The resolution that Kim taken this from, it said September, and that seemed a little random. So rather than determine a month, it made sense to just say that that'll happen and we'll just figure out when later. And then no compensation, and there's no formal termination date, but it can be terminated any time.
Can I make one addition? No, not really. Just minutes goes to the village clerk, just could you spell out minutes?
Sure.
So we can put it on the website.
Agendas and records of all meetings,
Do you have records of all meetings can be minutes?
including minutes or just minutes? All right, so agendas and minutes.
I don't need agendas, I just need minutes.
Are we doing comments in general going through this now, or are we gonna?
Well, no one has,
Yeah, I'm a little worried because I didn't give you all the whole, you just have a half. So what I'm going to propose.
no, we don't. We all have a
Well, you all have it. I'm the one who doesn't have it. Okay, there you
Not
go.
yourself, but you provided for us.
I think we can take the time to make comments, etc. I don't know if you want to add anything from what I did. I think most of what we talked about this morning is in here. But I think,
Okay.
yeah, no, go ahead. Let's have a conversation and see where we're
Yeah,
at.
if you want, Kim, do you want to do like an intro before anything?
An intro. I mean, yeah, like this, as Mayor Smith said, I took this from Hastings on Hudson, I think that's the name of the village, which obviously is like a much larger municipality than we are. But in trying to move us forward quickly towards the certification, I thought it was really important to get the resolution to the table so that we could discuss it. This is also the first attempt at formalizing a committee. And so it was sort of like, okay, what does this look like? What's the process? And so, one of the things that Karen and I did discuss around it is if we should lay out more explicitly under powers and duties. In the first draft, you'll see that there was a much larger list of powers and duties that were explained out, that the current members who are on the task force believed in having that laid out explicitly, so that when we go to get action items that were approved by the board, then we would have the ability and the authority to do the things that are needed for those action items. So that was a change. That is not there instead of, so now it's for the, basically we'll put together a priority list, come to the board can give feedback and say, yes, you can do these items, you can do this, or not this one, or not this one. And then within that, those would then have a plan for how to do it. But yeah, I don't know if there's,
I just had 2 comments that I wanted to, is that okay that I
Yeah.
jump in? So one is, I was just at the town board comprehensive plan meeting, and they were talking about how their climate smart stuff is gonna open up all this funding for them, you know, through the comprehensive plan process, right? Because they're gonna be able to connect those goals with their new comprehensive plan, and it's gonna be great. So I'm wondering, is there a way to add into the powers, duties, whatever, that you guys would maybe work towards building a plan for us as a village board? So
building a what?
a plan?
A comp plan?
No, not a comp plan. No. Like how you think, like not just a report that's at the end of the thing, that you would be actually like saying like, oh, I think we can get to this by doing these steps in the next.
Yeah, is that not explicitly
Yeah,
spelled out
that's,
here?
because
I think that's the idea behind
C.
Oh, I thought that's more like plan actions after they've been approved by the board. It
So,
didn't seem
yeah,
like it was like
Like the idea, so
an
there's.
approach, like a, you know.
There would be like a action items that are in the program itself, and this is all gonna come from so last fall, we had the report from Cornell Cooperative Extension
Yeah.
that went through and sort of did a prioritizing of where the village stands on these things, whether it's in progress or done or not. And so the Climate Smart Task Force has been sort of going over that giant document and then is putting together the sort of recommended items that would come to the board as the plan, and this is how we're gonna do. Like, this is the planned actions that the task force recommends the village to move forward on in order to get to our certification.
Okay, because I know that we saw that spreadsheet and we went through it, and it's very long and it took a certain amount, but it was, I haven't seen like, okay, this is gonna be like our strategic, we're hoping we can do this, this, and this.
Yeah, so that's
And
what
this has so many points, and this has X amount of points, and we're planning on getting to X point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like almost like a story.
So, yeah, and that's what we've been working on building up at this point.
That is maybe also how to prioritize actions so that it would be encompassed in A.
Yes, so arguably A is specifically focused on minimizing greenhouse gases.
I guess I'm thinking of the idea of like an actual like goal that is the committee would, or you know, task force would be working on and working towards, that we get like a.
Right, and I think, and again, this is from our conversations and the way I looked at it, you know, B is recommend the prioritized actions to the village board for approval. So I think in
But
that.
there's no timeline there. There's no like,
True.
we're planning on having this done by, you know, next reorg, or we have the hope of getting the certification yet.
So I think that, you know, that's something that we can ask,
I mean,
because I'm sure, you know, they've
I
been
think-
working on it, so I don't, you know, it doesn't,
Yeah.
we don't feel that, but it would be,
Well, I'm not saying that, I just think that I would like to know that there was something I could review that's like a, you know.
that is
Yeah.
certainly the goal. That was the intention of the combination of A, B, and C.
Oh, and then the other one was, do you mind me moving on to the next one? Do people
No,
have
go
other
ahead.
comments?
$100 at work right there.
I have 2 questions.
Okay, but is it specific to what I was just talking about? Okay. So, A, number 1, in the membership terms and offices,
Mhm.
we haven't had a village board trustee as a member on the committees. We're always liaisons. And I think that's like an important distinction to have, that you are there to facilitate and you're there to kind of like help guide and do that communication back and forth, but you're not actually doing the work of the committee. Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. I don't want to build it into the structure that's, yeah.
No, I'm only smiling because I think that's what you had preferred,
we
and
have-
I'm the
yeah.
one who changed it,
We did have
so
this conversation, which is
I,
fine. But
I defer to the board, for sure.
I will say, like, I did reach out and Village of Rhinebeck,
Mhm.
their liaison, trustee Bertozzi, does actively work in the community because it is a specific.
And that's her career, basically, too.
It is
Yeah.
her career, yeah,
Yeah.
so she is an expert in it, but then she's the liaison and works collaboratively, so with their events and stuff, if she has to coordinate, notify the board to get approval of funding or police, and that was sort of a collaborative side of things, and not necessarily doing the same work, but it's more of that trustee working collaboratively with the committee or the task force, and then being that liaison role.
Yeah, it's a vital role, because there's like a lot of,
Then perhaps we should put in here that trustee cannot be the chair. Simply because I understood municipal committees to be opportunities for residents who are not elected officials to, act in an advisory manner. And so leadership, and I say this in part because I am not the chair of events anymore and don't want to be for many years. But anyway, it does seem to me that the coordination or the leadership of the committee should be other than on the board, given that the board is the body that approves, unless that trustee is going to recuse themselves from the votes to approve actions. That's the,
which could be a possibility.
yeah.
I mean, I think the notion of the trustee not being the chair makes sense. And we can add that to number 1. I guess the distinction between being a member and a liaison is a little fuzzy to me, because you're still going to be there. I'm not sure what type of votes are going to happen within the task force. It also would allow the liaison to be the the tiebreaker if you have 7 people on the committee.
But does it also not then create a little bit of a conflict of interest for the trustee? Because if they want to raise something as an if they want to take a sort of lead on a particular priority being important, are they then speaking as the board of trustees, implying that would be, but I hear you.
As I say, that's the way you wanted it, so I'm very happy to defer and make it.
Would you recuse? Given
That makes
that's the role?
less sense. I'd rather have the trustee not recuse, so
Yes,
if being a member.
How we've been working, how the task force has been working on it is everybody has been given that CCE report, and they're going through as the community members and sort of going through in guidance with what the village has sort of said, like, we're interested in walkability issues, we're working on things, and so they're looking at those items to guide what the village has sort of stated as our goals. I haven't been choosing I think we should do pledge element number 6 because I have this interest in this.
It's about establishing for, going forward. It's not that I don't trust what you were doing.
No.
I'm just saying, and then if this is going to be something of a blueprint for other committees, like just thinking in terms of myself and, Fran has a committee also, I think.
Yes.
I would rather not be considered a member, just personally, and have the role of liaison defined.
Sure, but I'm very, very open to that. So how about if, just in looking at the structure here, the task force will contain a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 7 members. The committee will be appointed by the village board and made up of the following, because the members, if the first one is the representative from the board of trustees, who will serve as liaison and be responsible for.
Right.
And just to add one more thing, like, I've been in situations where there's like an idea that's brought up in the committee, and then maybe the committee doesn't have the bandwidth to do it, and I have the access and the time that I can meet with the mayor and we can talk about it and it can come into fruition. The liaison has a power that is.
But again, I think that could create a conflict of interest issue.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I think I'm agreeing that I think it's a powerful role that makes it lopsided if you're a member as well, so, with the other committee members.
Great. That's
great.
why we have these discussions. This is good. All right, so the committee, so the changes are going to be, it's going to say, instead of the members, it will say the committee will be appointed by the village board of trustees and made up of the following. 1 will be a representative of the board of trustees who will serve as liaison and be responsible for maintaining a collaborative relationship between the task force and the village board,
and
cannot serve as chair.
But I think that
And report
reporting on the
collaborative, blah, 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 and,
Which is just making into law what has been common practice for a long time.
and report
Well, this- To the village.
to
No,
the,
it's just you would be doing a
To the
report
board.
on the committee, that's it.
report to the board and cannot serve as chair, right?
And do we, oh, you had a question. Okay.
Go ahead,
No, no, I think, yeah.
Friday.
Hopefully a simple one. It was just about nomenclature. So this is a committee, right? Is there a reason we call it a task force?
The Climate Smart Communities program requires, or it doesn't work, it's one of the mandatory priority actions, and they specifically call it out as the Climate Smart Communities Task Force.
I see, and this is DEC?
This is New York.
New York State.
New York State.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
DEC,
yeah,
DEC,
DEC.
that's what I meant, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have membership number 2. One representative who is either on an environmental committee and or has environmental expertise. What constitutes an environmental committee?
So we weren't really thinking of explaining it specifically, but the things that came to mind were on a county, something like what Vanessa Bertozzi has with Partner Climate Action, BARD Sustainability Program, but somebody that has basically speaking to an expertise within the environment, so that we are leaning on experts in the field in that. And so we at least have one environmental person at the table having a conversation. And so it could, like, we didn't want to be as binding with it. So if, say, somebody from the county decided and they're in the environmental sector, but we didn't spell that out here, then they wouldn't be included.
But I would be more comfortable with just has environmental expertise. Because being on an environmental committee does not actually mean, unless that committee is also defined in ways that, you know what I mean? There are plenty of people I am on county committees and, they're not always.
But the notion would be, it would be a committee that was related to the environment, so it would be some sort of sustainability.
Sure,
or
but
energy efficiency or what have you.
I would rather their individual expertise be it and not their participation in a committee that they may or may not be an active member of. I mean, if they want to say their environmental expertise is due to serving X, Y, or Z, that's fine, but I just don't think it's I don't like the or,
Okay.
is what I'm saying.
Can I ask a question about that line, just because we're talking about it? What if it's an environmental committee that would be a conflict of interest? Let's say it was like a Dutchess County thing that is like approving funding, or like a BARD thing that wants us to do a project for them. Or I don't know what it would be, but like, is there any, that would be
I wouldn't think
separate.
that there would be an individual who would have individual say over a funding answer,
thing,
for
but it's
example.
not
So
issue.
if they were on our committee and on a committee in the county that was reviewing grants, it's going to be a committee, it's not going to be one person, so I don't. And if that person, I think, probably would say, gee, it's best if I can come and attend and guide you as to how and what to apply for.
I mean, this is us discussing the weeds, so I'm just.
Yes, that is also true, this is a good problem to have.
My other question is, why are the terms set by DEC as well?
Nope.
Okay, so if committee appointments are discussed every reorg meeting in April, why would there be terms that are not inconsistent with that?
I mean, from my standpoint, I think it's not a bad thing to, when you're asking someone to commit to a committee, to ask for 2 years.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just wondering.
Because, and also, Jen has brought us closer to being correct in that we are not approving everything every year now.
Oh, okay.
So
That is
based,
the nature of my question.
it's based on the term. So if
Cool.
you're within your term, you don't need to be reappointed because you already technically are appointed.
That
makes
that
sense.
answers the question, you're right.
Saves on paper too.
It should go, if we're talking about things that are going to be in perpetuity for future committees, we should put somewhere in here that they have to follow open meetings law.
Yeah. that's-
So technically, they don't, if they are not used doing fines. That's what our old attorney said, that they don't have to.
All right, I'm just reading the open meeting law frequently asked questions, and it says yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they're not
it's- yeah.
dealing
Is
with
that not
public,
right?
they're
I mean,
not
well,
dealing
no,
with
it's-
public funds.
I'm not an attorney, but confirm with your attorney whether we have to follow.
I've asked this question before. It's best practices, and I think we could go above and beyond, but because they're not actually dealing with public funds, because we assign the funds and we approve it, it doesn't have to, but it's best practice.
The other is in the body of, in the inside page, it says that all the meetings will be open to the public.
Yeah.
It says the agendas and minutes will be kept and filed with the village clerk.
That's,
I think it really, it is an open
Yep.
meeting.
Yeah.
So it probably in that spot, shall follow open meetings law. And if we, if there's a
And-
reason not to, we can take that away,
Yeah,
but.
the thing is, if you mention it, and you are the self-appointed expert on this, so you can fix it if we need to. If you mention open meetings law, that means that the chair at minimum needs to be fully educated in open meetings law.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas if it's outlined the way it is here,
okay, great.
if they make a mistake, it is
Can I?
okay.
As long as it's
Can I
not-
speak to that just really quickly? Do we have in here the idea that there's a set time that it will happen, the meeting? And that it is like a
It
repeated
says,
occurrence?
yeah, it says
Yes.
scheduled.
It'll be scheduled.
But we don't clarify when it'll be scheduled, right? Am I?
No.
A meeting schedule shall be established by the chair, and all meetings shall be posted 1 week ahead of time.
Yeah, 1 week is not enough for someone to plan to be able to.
So how about the,
I like the idea of a reoccurring date that like.
how about all
people can-
meeting agendas shall be posted 1 week ahead?
That's a lot of
Fine.
paperwork. I like the idea of it's every, third Saturday, or if it's every,
But
second Wednesday.
Arguably, they can't choose that until the members have been appointed, which,
And
But I'm saying that they would have a reoccurring,
oh,
they
you're
would choose a
saying,
reoccurring date.
you're saying
or-
that, the chair would,
well, to me, that's a
Establish it.
meeting agenda shall be established. That's what it says.
The agenda is different than a
No,
meeting
no,
date.
sorry,
Yeah.
did I say that wrong?
yeah.
A meeting schedule shall
So
be
a monthly
established.
meeting schedule is basically what you're
No,
saying.
no, I wouldn't, no, I wouldn't, I mean, if the committee, it could be quarterly, it could be monthly, it could be, I don't think we should specify how often they should meet, I think that should be up to the committee.
Okay.
It could be a regular meeting schedule.
Yes, I like that idea.
That work
Because
for
then
you?
you'd have to notice when it changes. Instead of the week before, you could set a meeting, and that's every time it could be that way. I like the idea that people have the ability to access it. To that point, about the open meetings law, can we assign a secretary? Because that's a helpful thing. If you have someone that's their role, it does help with,
Since someone has to take actual minutes.
yeah.
I mean, and it's not verbatim minutes, just in general.
Well, what is the difference between the minutes and the liaison's summary?
Well,
I don't think you need a liaison summary for the minutes.
Well,
I
that's
think
what
it's
the
helpful.
recording hours
Yeah,
says.
the liaison is them talking to the board about what we need to know. The minutes are so that they have record keeping, that they can go back. And if the public has a question, it's for the public. The liaison report is really for us and the committees, to the committee's benefit, that they can ask for things and discuss things in that. Does that make?
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think rules and records, I think under there, we can add,
Or it could be one of the roles in the
secretary can be
terms
assigned.
of office.
Yeah, well, Kim, I can talk about how,
Yeah,
It should be-
I haven't
No,
really
it's
seen like positions like that explicitly spelled out, but
Well,
but,
the minutes have to officially be someone's responsibility.
right, and like, I think we could just unofficially, I haven't seen it, like, if you look at, I haven't necessarily seen so-and-so chair, so-and-so secretary, so-and-so.
In the town, they used to pay for it.
Yeah.
They would give people a stipend to do
To
it,
do
because
this.
people don't want to be assigned it.
It's so hard to get people to
And then,
And
yeah, and then at some of them, the people actually didn't want to even, like, no one wanted to be assigned it, so they had to actually get like someone to come and be paid for hourly. So it's tricky, but if we're talking about, making things transparent and accessible.
and this is something, Kim, you and I can talk about, is whether instead of saying assign a secretary, we can assign a member the responsibility of
Have a note taker.
being,
Yeah.
keeping the minutes or something like
Yeah.
that. Because I think the notion is somebody needs to,
You can also
Keep
just
the
put
minutes.
it in the chair or their designee is responsible for the keeping and filing. If
Yeah,
you
that's
want it
good.
to be
Yeah,
assigned to
that's
someone.
okay. Okay.
Because some committees they go through phases of being quite small,
Yeah.
so.
Yes,
Can I
ma'am.
make a request slash proposal? Only
Sure.
because, firstly, thank you, Kim and Karen, for your work on this. This is not easy. So I really appreciate it, especially just reading through it casually. I feel like this could be a great model for the committees, and as Amy said, I have one. So barring our discovery of the original resolution to form the Village Green, this is just like, this is gold, this is a template for me. So, but that said, I really feel like this could benefit from a workshop. So if we could table it to our next one, I would be psyched. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, especially Kim, but I really think we could benefit from that.
Yeah, no, I think we can take the comments, we can incorporate them into the resolution that we have, and then we can use that as a basis to discuss. And I think we'll have at least one and maybe two other committees that we can also add that to the discussion.
That would be great. What do you think about that, Kim?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I did ask the village attorney for a template. So,
Okay, wonderful.
he did say the person he signed that to quit, so I'm hoping that wasn't the thing.
What, committees? No, I'm not.
So I assume that we will be getting one of those shortly as well.
Okay, that's good.
Great, excellent, good work. Okay, we did that. Yes, okay, the next item which you all have, or I put on the counter here for you, is a sick leave bank policy. And this is actually something that I will say that Jen brought to my attention many months ago. And it is something that municipalities do, they do exist. And so wanted to review, this is a policy, the guts of it came from our labor attorney with some specifics that were added to from other communities. Some communities actually put it into their code. I don't think we need to do that, but I do think that we should discuss. So I'll just read it out. Sick leave bank policy for the Village of Red Hook is designed to support our full-time employees who, because of long-term personal illness, and I'm going to circle a couple things. So by saying personal illness, it means that the individual, the employee themselves, are the ones who are ill. It is not something that is intended for if someone needs to take leave for a family member, for example. So that's what that word personal, and it comes up a little later as well. So that's just, I want to point that out. Have exhausted their leave benefits and would otherwise be subject to a severe loss of income during a continuing absence from work. This policy outlines the provisions for a dedicated sick leave bank program. Dedicated leave program. I should probably say dedicated leave bank program to be consistent. The program allows village employees to donate their sick leave to eligible employees designated by the donor, eligible recipients, and I'm going to add the word voluntarily. Sick leave to eligible employees designated by the donor. Eligible recipients may receive up to, and I put in the 30 days, that's certainly something we can discuss, of paid sick leave annually. Criteria for recipient eligibility. To qualify as a recipient under this program, the following criteria must be met. The employee must be a full-time employee eligible for sick leave benefits with at least 3 years of continuous full-time village service. The number of years of continuous service I've seen in looking at other policies, everywhere from 1 to 5 continuous years of service. The illness or injury must be non-job related and require an absence of at least 10 continuous work days. That 10 days is also something that is certainly flexible. Supported by medical documentation reviewed by the mayor. All sick and vacation leave balances must be exhausted. You'll note I didn't put personal leave. I think if someone has exhausted everything and they're continuing to be out sick, I think leaving them a handful of personal days feels like the right thing to do. But that's why personal days are not in there. Criteria for donating dedicated leave. Donors must meet the following criteria for contributing to sick leave bank. The employee must be a full-time employee of the Village of Red Hook. The employee must have a minimum balance of at least 10 days after making a donation to the sick leave bank. All donations must be made through the use of the signed consent form, and that's just making sure that we have it in writing. The identity of donors shall not be disclosed by the village. Program requirements, there's no enrollment period, donations are made as needed. All dedicated leave is irrevocable unless unused pursuant to this policy. Unused days will be credited back to the donating employee after 1 year unless a recurrence of the recipient's illness occurs. Dedicated sick leave is retroactive to the first day of absence without pay, and recipients will continue to accrue leave while using dedicated sick leave. I will say that that doesn't really apply because it's only in the first couple of years of your employment that you're accruing. Generally, you get your sick time at the beginning of the year. All donations must be made through the use of reading the wrong thing.
Last one on 4.
Confidentiality of medical information will be strictly maintained. Thoughts, comments?
Under 3, the identity of the donor shall not be disclosed by the village. That's obviously the public wouldn't know because it's personnel stuff, but that means that
The donors can make themselves known to
If
the
they want to.
recipient, but the
Great.
village should not. do
yeah, no,
that.
that makes total sense. I just wanted to make sure that that's
Where it says donations are made as needed. And since you're talking about the donations, maybe that's another place where voluntarily, or the notion of, it's not just that someone needs it, it's that someone wants to give it.
So how would you change that language? Would you put
Donations are
voluntary?
made voluntarily as needed.
Thank you.
Sure.
which bullet is that? I'm so sorry.
It's the first bullet of 4.
Okay, thank you.
Are made voluntarily as needed.
Thank you.
Thoughts on, for personal illness or injury only? There is a Family Medical Leave Act that would cover other things.
So the cap on how much they can receive,
Yeah. I made that up.
Yeah, I was-
It was
it's just-
blank. The number of days was blank from what
Yeah.
our attorney gave us, and so I put in 30 days. We don't need to have a
Other
cap.
places yeah, do other
They
municipalities
do.
have caps?
They do.
I mean, if
I mean,
someone
we're so
has it
small,
to
so-
give and wants to give it, why would we say no?
How about just eliminating that sentence then?
Yeah, that sounds good.
That works for me. Anything else that you think ought to be adjusted or added? Okay, I'm not hearing any. So I do have a resolution to adopt this policy, and we'll say this policy as amended. So the 3 amendments are, what are the 4
Two
amendments?
voluntarily.
So, number 1, I'm gonna add the word bank, so it's gonna be dedicated sick leave bank program. In that first sentence, I'm gonna add voluntarily to before donate, and we're gonna eliminate the second sentence. And then, under program requirements, the first bullet, we will add voluntarily before as needed. Those are the changes. Okay? So the resolution, it's a resolution to establish a sick leave bank policy. Oh, it's gonna be number 19. Whereas there may be times when a full-time village employee has exhausted their leave benefits and would otherwise be subject to a severe loss of income during a continuing absence from work, and whereas other full-time village employees may have accumulated a significant amount of sick leave and be willing to voluntarily donate some sick days to another employee in need, and whereas a policy to allow for the creation of a sick leave bank allows for the opportunity to support a fellow employee should the need arise. Now therefore be it resolved that the attached sick leave bank policy be adopted for the Village of Red Hook. I'll take a motion for that.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you, Pam. I'm actually going to suggest that under the now be therefore be it resolved that we say, comma, effective immediately.
Okay, sounds great.
Any other comments? Additions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you very much. All right. I think that's everything on the regular business item here. Just to note, the next meeting is, the workshop meeting is Thursday, May 22nd. That's our last Thursday workshop meeting prior to going to the 4th Mondays that we will do in June. And then the next board meeting is June 9th, and that is Monday.
And June is when we start doing workshops on the third Monday instead
The
of
fourth Monday,
fourth Monday.
yes. So it's 2 weeks apart, so it'd be the
That makes
second.
much more sense.
I am going to suggest that we move public comment to now, given that we actually have people in the gallery who may want to make a comment. I don't know, do I need to make a formal change to the agenda?
There's a sign up there.
No,
Well, that's
fine.
oh, that's just
Public hearing.
that's with public comment. Yeah. So I'm gonna make public comment now. If anyone would like to make comment, you can hit any subject you like. If you just state your name and the area where you live, and keep it to about 3 minutes. We'd appreciate it.
And there's a mic over on the dais.
Yes.
You have to turn it on.
Anybody want to make comment?
Don't rush up.
Okay, no comments. Great, thank you. All right, with that, we will turn to our fine treasurer, who's fresh off jury duty, having officially been waived. We are all very grateful for that, me especially.
So just turn on the name.
You need to turn on the mic, and you need to hold the mic to your mouth.
And just keep talking, it will pick you up.
Sorry, I haven't used this before. What do I do?
There's a slide up
There's a
little
little
thing on the side.
Jack, you probably know how to use it.
Yeah, you got it.
And then you just talk into it and it will activate.
Yeah, there you go. You just gotta keep talking, it's on.
I have to hold it?
You have to hold it, yes, you do.
We didn't do that last. Good evening.
Mary Beth, you actually need to hold it to
Oh,
your
I
mouth.
have to hold it?
Yes, you do.
Pretend it's the Academy Award.
We'll look to getting you a stand so that you don't have to hold it in the future.
Ah.
But you do have to hold it to your mouth, otherwise no one can hear you
Good
out in the
evening.
world.
The village's financial holdings as of the end of April were as follows. In the general fund, we held $816,592.15. In the water fund, $439,154.68. In the payroll clearing account, we held $51,475.42. In the sewer fund, we have $60,380.90. The Hart Scrabble account, $5,994.48. Village Green account held $9,070.04. Our health insurance deductible account held $13,094.53. Our reserve checking balances for the fire department, $10,514.99. The police department, $18,068.21. The USDA account held $147,014.74. Highway
Mary Beth, if
department.
I can just interrupt you, the USDA, that's water related. At some point, we should probably add to the name of it. This is as it comes from the water projects that we did several years ago. So this is specifically for water.
How would you like to rename that?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. The Highway Department Reserve account held $603.33. The Snow Reserve account, $3,471.76. The Tower Reserve account, $18,749.89. Unemployment account held $7,437.33. The court reserve account, $3,492. Office reserve account, $1,029.54. As for our expenses, in April we spent $199,747.50 in our general fund. The water fund had expenses of $81,996.77. Our payroll clearing account held spent $2,838.28, and our sewer expenses were $43,091.34. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much. Do we need a motion? Do we approve that? Yes, I need a motion to accept the treasurer report.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
One trustee, I had to go through the rest of them.
Oh, got it. Well, she may have heard she's seen my report, so I will continue.
We can return to the vote when she's back, when they're back.
I do not have a police report for this evening. We will report on April and May at the next meeting. Same with the fire department. And I'll just reiterate, I'll go through my report. So personnel, Laura Hart is, in addition to being the building planning zoning clerk, she is also the police clerk. And as we mentioned, she's out on medical leave for a few months. We already approved hiring the temporary planning clerk. For the police clerk work, we've discussed in the past year the idea of hiring a separate part-time person to be the police clerk, particularly given how much busier the building department has become. I am working with Lieutenant Hildenbrand to develop a job description and a proposal for you all. Water projects, we are still waiting for a closing date for the additional financing from EFC. We won't be able to finalize all the projects until then. There's only a very small punch list. Actually most, if not all of those, most of those punch list items actually have been taken care of. There's one that can't be done until August. And then the original, the sewer project one that constructed our new sewer plant. It's actually the same report as last time. We're still waiting for the final version of the single audit. We did receive a draft, but we don't have the final audit. And there will be one, in theory, there'll be one final MWBE report from Carver Construction that is required to be filed, and the January through March report that was filed by Carver, they didn't make it a final report, so they're going to have to do another one. Wastewater treatment plant operations. I believe that Trustee Bradley Ricard will have an update, but I did want to mention we've had 2 public information meetings, one on April 3rd and the second on May 1st. The next one is scheduled for June 5th at 7 p.m. We have started to post updates on the village website. Thank you once again to Deputy Mayor Kjarval, who's created a new page, and it's called Wastewater Treatment Plant, or WWTP Operations. And we will be doing periodic updates in between the public information meetings with some information. So, and it's not meant to be long or fancy, but the most recent one that went up today, starting that process, indicated we were supposed to do the repairs for the old plant last week, but given the weather forecast for a significant amount of rain, it was pushed off to this week. It's scheduled to start tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. So I think that's all. I will say that we've been testing at the requirement of DEC on a weekly basis, and we are seeing significant improvement in the testing of the effluent from from the wastewater treatment plant. We're not fully where we need to be, but we're definitely a very long way from where we were. The new coalition, which I'm going to refer to as the Benner Road Coalition, because separately there is the Sawkill Watershed Committee. So it gets a little confusing if they're both called Sawkill. So I will refer to the coalition as the Benner Road Coalition. On May 1st, the town supervisor McKeon and I met with a smaller group from the Benner Road Coalition, a group of local residents that live around the sub-tributary and the tributary to the Sawkill River, into which our wastewater treatment plant discharge flows. Just to be clear, our wastewater treatment plant discharges into a sub-tributary of a tributary of the Sawkill. This was the beginning of a discussion around how the village and town can work together with the residents to discuss a way forward together to look at and assess the health of the wetland and tributary. The Sawkill Watershed Committee, this committee met on Wednesday, April 23rd, and I attended that meeting. I am now the liaison, replacing Charlie. Former trustee Lang was the prior liaison. I am now the liaison.
This is not a village committee, though.
It's not a village, yes, no, I am just a village liaison so that I can hear what they are discussing and bring it back to the board. So this committee met on Wednesday, April 23rd. They discussed the recent samples that were taken. There were 15 sites. They were done by 17 volunteers. The results will be discussed at their May meeting. The Benner Road Coalition asked the Sawkill Watershed Committee to write a request for a full environmental review of the site. The Sawkill Watershed Committee confirmed that they are focused on the water. More discussion of a further look at the history of that site. The Benner Coalition is looking into naming the tributary. May 17, this is a day where the Sawkill Watershed Committee, in conjunction with Bard College, is doing an event at Montgomery Place. So that's next Saturday, or this coming Saturday. It starts at 10:30 a.m. Meet at the Welcome Pavilion. There will be 3 stations, one on birds, one on eels, and one on amphibians. They're going to be reviewing data sets, including historical information. Lunch will be provided. There will be, it really sounds like a fascinating program. And there will be 2 more events this year, one in September about land use and history, and the last one in December where they will introduce the database they have been working on. The group discussed, there are not specific dates for those yet. The group discussed the future structure of the Sawkill Watershed Committee. The Good Work Institute was introduced as a potential fiscal sponsor, which would allow the Sawkill Watershed Committee to apply for grants. The group discussed the water monitoring program. It's been going for, this round has been going for 10 years. They will discuss in the future whether to continue, what areas to monitor, etc. The Red Hook Library. The Red Hook Library held their April board meeting on April 17th. The board approved their strategic plan at their March meeting. You can find their strategic plan on the Red Hook Public Library website in the March 2025 board packet. Included in the April agenda was discussion of an MOU between the newly formed Friends of the Red Hook Public Library and the Red Hook Public Library Board. The Friends of the Library hosted a table at Apple Blossom where they sold books. And for more information, you can certainly find that on the library's website, which is redhooklibrary.org/Board of Trustees. And another piece of information is that the library is requesting a vote on additional funding. I am not aware, I have not found or heard of their specific reasoning behind their request. And I do think that in the future we should request the, somebody's wanting to come in, that we should request someone from the library board to come and share the budget with us and what it is that they are looking for with the additional funding. I did print out the annual financial report for the library for the year 2024. We'll put a copy, maybe we'll make another copy and we'll put it out in the lobby here in the village for folks to take a look at. The one thing I do want to just highlight is that they, at the end of 2023, the library had an unassigned fund balance of $354,000 and change. And at the end of 2024, they went up just shy of 100,000 to 450,916. So they do have a significant unassigned fund balance. At their next meeting, I will ask the question of what their intentions are with that fund balance.
Is their next meeting prior to the vote?
Their next meeting is not prior to the vote, so I can ask that question before that, and I can share it. I can share it with you guys. I don't, when is the vote? Actually, it might
May
be.
20th. Everyone should vote.
Everyone should vote. Actually, the library board meeting is this coming Thursday, the 15th.
You can ask.
So I can ask and get that information.
The board budget is in the lobby as well, for people,
Yeah,
right?
if
Yes.
you want, if people,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what made me think to put the library, and this isn't their budget, though I did print out a copy of their,
Their budget's on
through
their
March.
website for 2025.
5, yes.
Traditionally, they used to come and talk to us about.
They did, and
their
so
goals
did the
what they're-
school,
Yeah.
and we seem to have gotten out of that habit in the last couple of years. And so I think for next year, I think we might talk about perhaps a way to, because it's wonderful that the school does the one expo, but it's literally one night. If you have some conflict, you can't make it. So maybe there's an opportunity to do something a little different next year. Okay, Red Hook Together. I attended the Red Hook Together meeting on May 1st at the Red Hook Community Center. There was no set agenda. The meeting was an opportunity for those attending to share upcoming events and information. For those of you who went to Apple Blossom, Red Hook School Teachers Union had a booth. Randy Weingarten, who is the president of the American Federation of Teachers, that would be a national organization, was to be here. Was she here?
She was, yeah, she introduced,
And she was there to honor Martha Straver,
who was also.
New York's longest-serving educator. She is a math teacher at Linden Avenue Middle School. She has been teaching math since 1961.
Michelle Hinchy was also there.
What's that?
Michelle Hinchy was also there to congratulate her.
Wonderful. Yes,
Yeah.
she's gotten a lot of congratulations. It's wonderful. The town has had an electric drive event. There's a public hearing on the proposed waterfront park this coming Friday. Shred Day is June 7th. These are all town events. Limit of 3 legal boxes per town resident. If you have more than 3 legal boxes and you know your neighbor and they don't have them, that's where you get it done. Red Hook Responds, and for those of you who don't know, they have moved from the Elks Club to Christ Church here in the village. So they're now going to be using the Christ Church's kitchen. They have their walk-in refrigerator and a freezer in the parking lot. And so they do have some items at the community center, but now they're in 2 spaces instead of 3. So that's a nice move for them. And they're right here in the village. VFW and the auxiliary, they were doing CPR training. Memorial Day Parade will be held on Monday, May 26th. It kicks off at 10 a.m. The VFW also collects old flags, which they then properly dispose of. Usually on Flag Day in June, they will have a proper burning ceremony that they do. So if anyone has an old flag, or if you want to drop it off here, we can certainly take it over to the VFW. Let's see. The Red Hook Library on this coming Saturday, they're having a Books and Brews at Lasting Joy. And then summer reading will be a competition between Rhinebeck and Red Hook. The Red Hook Central School District has their budget vote on May 20th. That's from 12 to 9 p.m. And they had their expo. There are 4 candidates for 2 open board seats. So they, I believe, were presenting at the Board of Ed meeting on May 8th, which should have been recorded and should be on the Board of Ed's website if you want to take a look.
There's also descriptions of each, they answered the
On the website,
questions.
yes,
Yeah,
yep.
on the website. The school website.
Bard CCE noted that there will be international students on campus at Bard over the summer. They are barred from working off campus, but they can do internships. Bard will be hosting some new students in late July for a pre-orientation. This is just to remind us all that Bard students might be roaming in the village at any time. So we do our best to be welcoming. Some students are not used to a small village where people actually say hello to each other. For anyone who spends any time in New York City, you on purpose don't say hello to anyone. So we need to reprogram them that it's okay to actually say hello.
Panhandling.
What's that?
We're not panhandling.
Yeah, correct. And the county health department was at the Red Hook Community Center with their mobile health unit, and then we were all invited to take a tour. It's a big, huge bus, and it looked like it was pretty active that day at the community center. And I did attend the Public Spaces Initiative meeting, and I have my notes, which I did not write up, so I apologize. We spent some time talking about the beginnings of the framing of a resolution for the Public Spaces Initiative and what that might look like. And I talked about, so in the past couple of years, the committee has done a Hello Blooms event, and they had already opted to do that at Apple Blossom, and so they had a table at Apple Blossom Day, and I believe there was to be a plant giveaway. There was definitely conversation about pollinators, etc. They talked about the library looking to start some planting, and it sounds like this committee will perhaps add some volunteers to that work. And the Abrahams Park Task Force is technically sort of a subcommittee to the Public Spaces Initiative. So we talked a little bit about where we are on that project. And then there was some discussion about the Cookingham Trails, a concern about any farmer who might purchase that property, what kind of spraying might they be allowed to do. And there was a question of can or should the village get involved with restrictions, or looking at it the other way, incentivizing folks, because some of the farmland is on village property. So I just put that out there as today's not the day to have that conversation, but given that some of the property is in the village, that is something that we could consider to restrict certain types of spraying or what have you, which I think is reasonable.
Do we know if the easement precludes anything?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I do know that the town supervisor had talked about that,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's been made formal.
Okay.
So that's it for me. Now on to Deputy Mayor.
Great. So Red Hook Together meets every first Thursday of the month. Last month's meeting took place at the Red Hook Community Center on May 1st, and Mayor Smythe attended, which she read the report. Village of Red Hook Human Relations Committee meets every first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. in the Village Hall Conference Room. May's meeting was canceled since it conflicted with the Village Sewer Info session on the 5th. Due to an unavoidable scheduling conflict, tomorrow's Tuesday, May 13th Indigenous History Project Gathering has also been canceled. Questions about the project can be emailed to myself at mcarvel@redhookvillage.gov. Village of Red Hook Communications. Progress on the .gov domain has continued. Working with our IT consultant, CMI Tech, and our website platform provider, Civic Plus, we have been able to get an updated statement of work to switch our domain over to the .gov address, which is before the board for approval at this meeting, which we approved. The WWTP operations update page has gone live at redhookvillage.org/WWTP. Sorry, I was like, we should be .gov already. Additionally, the mayor will be adding semi-weekly update summaries to the page, as well as a copy of the state pollutant discharge elimination system permit, which is a speedies permit, as was requested at the last info session, which I think Jen had, which is great, thank you. The next info session is Thursday, June 5th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Village Conference Room. At a meeting with the Bard College and Dutchess County Human Rights Commission on May 2nd at Tivoli Village Hall, there was discussion of replacing a damaged Welcome Bard Students banner that had been previously displayed across Route 9. The village will design and order a new banner to replace the worn banner for installation in front of the info booth parallel to Route 9. The town supervisor has offered for the town to pay for the cost of the banner itself. The mayor and I measured for the banner on Wednesday, and I will request a quote for the fabrication of this replacement banner before the end of the week.
Quick question while you're here. Was there any resolution as to when to put it up?
There are 3 dates, as you were outlining, that there are students that will be coming to Red Hook. So we hadn't quite, do we want to keep it up for the span? Do we put it up, take it down for those 3 dates? I mean, it starts to lose its impact if it's up for 3 months. So there's...
Because I think the students come sort of the end of July, and everybody's here by the end of August, so I think the
And then new
longest...
students are here in the beginning of August. So it's like a...
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think obviously we just need to work that out.
Yeah.
Got it.
Ahead of us drafting a social media policy, we are working to gain access on some existing social media accounts that are no longer being used. The latest attempt is to log into the x.com account, previously known as Twitter. Progress on the village's social media policy, communications policy, and Google Drive best practices are ongoing. Village and zoning review, there's nothing new to report regarding the draft law regarding proposed changes to the zoning code, chapter 200, to create a new zoning district entitled Gateway North and to establish workforce housing provisions applicable to new development. Links to the 2/26/25 drafts posted for the public review are available in the March 13th special workshop agenda. Planning and zoning. This month's reports have been delayed and will be prepared for next month's meeting. And then I have in my report that we don't have the building department report, but we do have.
We
Just got, we just, yeah. So strike that from my record and I can actually, and
It's one part of it.
yeah, so one part of it. So in the month of April, we have had $2,555 worth of fees, is it called, for building permit
That's
fees?
right.
Issued to the Village of Red Hook. And that's it for me.
Great, thank you very much. Next, Trustee Bradley McCart.
Good evening. For April, here's my report for April. For the sewer department, the new operators created an action list to address repairs, trace complaints to root causes, and began weekly instead of monthly testing. They uncovered multiple design and operational issues, and many components were broken or had never functioned. As a pocket planet, everything was supposed to be included, but there was, when they walked in on day 1, there was no treatment, so chlorine was used for disinfection, and dechlorinating tabs arrived mid-month and are now in use.
Kim, just a quick clarification. So day 1 you mean is March 31st?
March 31st, correct, of when Delaware walked.
Right, yeah, because I meant to ask you about that, because
Yeah.
there certainly has been treatment, it's just that on April 31?
Yeah, March 31st.
Got it. March, right, yes.
EQ tank pumps are running at full capacity, possibly overloading the plant and washing out the microbial community. And there was no flow control, so it was either 0 or maximum, prompting a recommendation for a larger EQ tank and smaller pumps. The current tank only works if everything functions perfectly, leaving no room for error. Aeration was insufficient, so more blows were added, and the clarifier sludge wasn't returning properly, causing buildup and blowouts. With added pumps, sludge movement improved, clarifying the water, and the return pipes were still clogged. MLSS, mixed liquors, suspended solids, held steady at 1,000 milligrams per liter, which is sufficient for microbial growth.
And Kim, just one, the blowers, we had them, we just turned them on. We didn't have to buy them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of added, just turn it on.
Added it to the function.
Yes, got it. Just wanted to clarify. Apologies.
The weirs weren't level due to a tilted tank, causing an uneven flow, and Delaware adjusted them to a roughly 60-40 balance, which is better than before, but a true 50-50 won't be possible until the tank is leveled itself. Uneven flow has been overloading the sand filters, and their auto controls weren't working, and manually used trips were tripping the breaker, and sand filters needed to be replaced about every 2 years is what the Delaware team had sort of decided on an operational standpoint from there. UV filters were scheduled for replacement under a new contract, and sand filters will be addressed once the old plant is back online. Major repairs are planned, and I can confirm that we have put the order in for the sand filters, so we're waiting for it. It's in the vouchers. Major repairs are planned for the week of May 12th, and although the microbial community began to recover in April, the plant still didn't meet ammonium limits and seems to be receiving more pollutants than it was designed to handle. Pumps were removed from automatic mode to prevent washing out microbes and are now operating manually. A SCADA-type system would be needed to automate them safely. Raise the possibility of a sewer use area moratorium due to community concerns and the plant's current instability, even though it's under capacity. And no specific criteria for triggering a moratorium were provided, only that it would be a last resort measure. The mayor and Robert Flores, Delaware sewer operator, hosted a second community info session with a third scheduled, which this is repeating, Thursday, June 5th. And the sewer team meets every other Friday, roughly, if you have any concerns, comments, etc., related to the wastewater treatment plant and the sewer use area. Please don't hesitate to reach out.
Can I ask a question before we move on? One of the things that I did when I was going through and copying all of Brent's reports, which we know were super lengthy, was he would do this thing where he would say who was at the meeting and kind of like what date the meeting took place. Is there a way that you can kind of add that information to these reports? Just because I am very curious about who's at these meetings discussing all this stuff, and I'd like to know what dates you guys met the sewer team. Is that possible? Just that little extra detail?
Yeah.
That would be great.
I will say that who has been meaning to answer for
Yeah.
in the month of April, it was Robert Flores, Jen Kavanaugh, Mayor Smythe, myself, and Jake Smith.
Okay, great. And like, how many times did you met twice? Or?
We meet every other Friday.
I know, it's just like the actual dates, it'd be great. It would just be like a level of detail that I think would make people feel good. And
It also makes a record for
Yeah.
when we forget. We have it, we have it in the past, or when new board members come in, it's actually really interesting to read back old reports.
And even like Brent went so far as to like actually kind of summarize. I know that you are kind of summarizing what happened, but you're not necessarily summarizing like the bullet points of what was discussed at the meeting. It was just helpful for us to, go along with it, because this is really important. So if you can do that, that would be really appreciated. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
For speed limit initiative, the engineer is reaching out to the colleague for the best advice on how to move forward. For the Town of Red Hook Greenway and Trails Committee, the April meeting proposed the Winnicke Land Trust Ribbon Cutting Day for the extended Sauk Hill Trail, which was moved to June 7th, which is National Trails Day, from April 26th, which was Rails to Trails Conservancy Trails Day, due to DEC scheduling conflicts. It also covered how the committee will be involved in the Tour de Red Hook, which happened on May 4th. The committee agreed that they provide swag, free stickers, safety information, trail information, and use it as an opportunity to promote all trails, even though this ride was using specifically the Cookingham Farm trails. They agreed to order kid and adult reflective vests, reflective stickers with the trails logo, and trail maps, all of which would be free to those in the community who participated. The committee is actively working on providing trails as off-road and safer options for traveling between schools and neighborhoods, and working through educational material to send out regarding the rules of the roads/trails, such as road safety, looking both ways, walking against traffic, and riding with traffic, etc. For climate smart communities, April's meeting was devoted to collecting suggestions of pledge elements from Climate Smart program to start to prioritize them for board approval. However, the task force must be formally created, which we were addressing tonight. There were many action items from each pledge element that would be helpful. The Tour to Red Hook bike ride was discussed in relation to pledge element 6, Climate Smart land use. It offers a great opportunity to gather more data on street and trail usage and requests directly from our residents. The Repair Cafe was a well-attended event that happened quarterly with the town's CAC at the Red Hook Community Center. The CSC participated via engagement with residents about the upcoming compost program. We even had a few people sign up, however, they're town residents. But it is always great to engage with and chat with members of our community. The website page has been created and is designed and waiting for the final uploading to our site for the compost program, and sign painter Colin Packard has created a few renderings of the big sign for the shed, which would also include the village logo, as well as acknowledge for the county for their financial sponsorship. And I also wanted to thank Paulina Malikin for her work on the program's logo. And that is the end of my reports.
Awesome. Okay, we have trustee Uku.
That's me. Hi. Thanks for Okay, so here are the village highway costs and expenses for the month of April. Please refer to the attached resource recovery data report, which is available online. Our total revenue from tags sold is $2,490. We also had recycling. Yeah, I'll give the amount. So total recycling, we had 2.01 tons, consisting of 0.93 of commingled, 0.33 of cardboard, 0.75, of paper. So costs, we had, well, I mean, I have the revenue listings, but for garbage, we had $81.55, very low. Fuel costs were $5.10. We had 0 for contaminated recycling, which is awesome. We also had a $211.12 fee for the renting of the dumpster, the Welsh Royal dumpster, bringing the total cost spent to $297.77. Pretty light month of April. Okay.
And just to clarify, one of the reasons why the cost for the garbage, that would be the cost to, is by having the dumpster, they don't have to go every
as many times.
which has been very helpful.
So fuel is so low. So yeah, that's been super helpful. Okay, the rest of my report for highway. So that's my department. Thank you to Mayor Smythe and Highway Foreman Jake Smith, as I was able to accompany our diligent DPW staff at 5:15 a.m. on Monday, April 28th for that morning's trash and recycling run.
I think you get a gold star for that. I'm not sure that
any
other
yeah.
trustee would do that.
I know, if you want to give me, I'm taking all the flowers.
Jake was gonna put you on that.
Wait, you didn't write on the back? That would be more
Just
fun.
my photo on the It was really fun. It was very informative and dare I say fun. I've used the village's affordable and convenient service since my very first week as a resident a million years ago, and I intend to see it get even better. Many residents could benefit from learning how to put out their waste materials to prevent causing a mess of garbage on the street or contaminating the recycling. When the recycling is contaminated, we have to pay for that as a village, so it's really great to do what we can to avoid that. I would suggest making Deputy Mayor Kirval's guides to waste collection, dual stream recycling, and the calendar easier to access on the website. Visual guides can be easier to follow and could help make pickups more efficient for the DPW. Participation in the village trash and recycling pickup is currently low. I've been speaking with neighbors about what informs their current choice of waste management service provider. With your approval, I would like to post a questionnaire/survey on the village website to gather more information about how best to serve our residents. Currently, I'm just stalking people in the street. I'm just stopping and asking, why don't you do our garbage program? So yes, okay, for the scrap metal program, revenue received as of the 30th of April 2025 was $650.40. Total revenue for this fiscal year, June 2024 to May 2025, is $5,477.30. Proceeds from the scrap metal program will go towards the purchase of tools and equipment for the DPW. Residents and businesses interested in donating metal may contact the village clerk's office to schedule a pickup. The only thing, trash and recycling notes remain the same and can also be found on the village website. The one thing we did want to note for leaf and brush pickup has begun, and the advisory from the highway foreman is that residents do not place brush and leaf piles covering water or sewer shutoffs or on top of fiber optic ground vaults, because
And those fiber optic ground vaults are the rectangular green things.
yes, the green things, and
Yeah.
they just come right off. And sometimes they bring the box with them. So we probably don't want that. Okay, and then I have Red Hook Village Green Committee. I'm the liaison to this committee. We had a Village Green Spring Planting Day held on April 19, 2025 at 9 a.m. in the village parking lot is where we met. 11 trees were planted. Please see the attached list of locations all over the village, of course. Thus, we retain our status as a member of Tree City USA. My immense thanks to Trustee Bradley Ricard for passing on extensive documentation and contacts from her tenure with the VGC and making my first planting day as liaison a success. Public meetings of the VGC are held the second Sunday of the first month in each quarter at 6 p.m. The next will hold on July 13th. In the meantime, I look forward to introducing you to the members of the committee for the 25-26 year. And I hope anyone who's listening, reading, or watching is interested in joining the Village Green Committee. You may contact me by email. Or contact the village clerk and express your interest. We're always recruiting members and would love to have you. With the board's permission, I would like to send an official thank you letter by surface mail to all property owners who invited the village to plant trees on their property. I will forward the text of the letter within the next week so it can go out promptly. I do need your, or I would appreciate your approval as it's going out on letterhead.
I would be happy to make a motion to approve having you send out a letter on village letterhead.
Thank you very much.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Kim. Any other questions, what have you? All in favor?
Aye. Great. And also thank you to all who attended the planting, including Mayor Smythe and Deputy Mayor Kirkle. Also to Dave Pearson for the tree planting demonstration, to Kathy Pearson for the photo, which I hope will also appear online on our Village Green website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was me. And I have the water report. First, I thank Jake Smith and Robert Flores for their patience and kindness in teaching me the ways of the village water system. On Friday, April 25th, I met with Jake, Robert, and the mayor. In April 2025, 2,730 people were served by the 7 wells that are active in the village water system. An average of just under 270,000 gallons were used per day, for a total of just over 8 million gallons for the month.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. The 3 locations tested all came back negative for bacteria, that would be coliform and E. coli. For greater detail, please see the full water report submitted to the New York State Department of Health. Then the utility billing report.
Do we need to report on that?
Yeah, which I am seeing for the first time, so bear with me as I read it. $424.75 of utility bills were issued in April 2025. There were no penalties or finance charges issued. Utility payments received equal $173,098.03. As we did at our last board meeting or workshop, was approved by the board to re-levy onto 2025-2026 property tax bills, those who had utility bills that were outstanding. And that amount came to $12,183.23. Accounts receivable outstanding to the village for utility bills as of May 1st, $35,959.82. And that is all.
You might just want to mention that.
There were no bill adjustments.
Great.
The
and
events
actually
committee is suspended, and so there's no meetings.
However, we're getting closer to having
Oh yeah, no, we're
a
developing the
resolution.
same sort of resolution, but it doesn't effectively exist.
Yes, and for the language access grant, Amy is going to work with me.
I've reached out to the county, but I don't have anything to report subsequently to that.
Got it. All right. So that's all the department and committee reports. We're now into general business. Does anybody have any general business they want to add?
I have a letter I'd like to read out to the board.
Sure.
To the mayor, fellow trustees, and members of the public. I am writing to formally resign from my position as trustee of Red Hook Village Board, effective after this meeting. This has not been an easy decision, and I ran for this position because I care passionately about our village, its residents, and those who work here. I believed then, and still believe, that inclusive, transparent governance and respectful public engagement are vital to a healthy community. Over the past several months, I have found it increasingly difficult to fulfill my responsibilities as trustee in a way that aligns with these values. I've experienced a lack of communication and transparency that has left me out of important conversations and decisions, learning of meetings, developments, or key information only after the fact. Similarly, I've observed this in board members' relations with community organizations and entities. It appears as though an us versus them mentality seems to be strengthening, which has lent to exclusionary practices. These patterns are barriers to effective work, not just for me as a trustee, but also for stakeholders and others invested in the shared progress of Red Hook. I have become disheartened by what I perceive as a widening disconnect between members of the board and many members of our community. I believe in listening, seeking common ground, and being responsive to resident concerns, even and especially when they challenge our assumptions. I have not always felt that this approach is shared or supported. Additionally, I felt my suggestions weren't given full consideration and that sometimes my input was dismissed as though my knowledge or perspective didn't matter. My efforts to ask questions or gain deeper understanding were often met with resistance or defensiveness rather than open-mindedness and curiosity. Ultimately, my values will not allow me to remain a part of the leadership that operates this way, as it goes against a collaborative governance. While I'll no longer serve in an official capacity, I remain committed to the village's future and hopeful that all who will serve will center transparency, humility, and collaboration in their work. And it is my hope, and as this is my hope, I will happily hand off any ongoing projects to the remaining board members to ensure continuity. Thank you to those who supported me in this role and to the community members who continue to speak up for a more inclusive and responsive local government. Respectfully, Trustee Kim Bradley Ricard.
I'm very sad. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
It was a really hard decision, but it started to also affect my health, and so I need to step down.
I respect that. And thank you for writing a letter, and thank you for all the efforts and the time that you've put in and all the things that you've done for the village. Very much appreciate that. So I wish you the best, and you're not leaving the village, so we'll see you around, and we certainly hope to find ways to engage you as time goes forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting energy into the Climate Smart Task Force resolution.
Yeah, we've gotten very far on that.
Yeah.
Any other village general business? We have no executive session items. We do need, yes, I'd need a motion to pay bills after audit.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
With no further business, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.